So yeah, thanks for joining me, Ray. It's much appreciated. The purpose of today's podcast is to give people outside of Totalmobile a bit of insight into the sales transformation that's occurred here at Totalmobile. And Ray, you've been at the forefront of this remarkable sales transformation since you joined the company in January 2022. And under your leadership, our sales team has transformed, driving growth and innovation in truly remarkable ways. So in today's episode, I'd like to do a bit of a dive into your journey, the challenges you've faced, the successes you've achieved, and what's next for Totalmobile's sales team. So if you're a sales professional working in the software space, I think you'll find this podcast particularly interesting. So Ray, let's start by maybe telling us a bit about your career background to date and what's brought you to Totalmobile.
Yeah, well, thanks for the intro as well, Gareth. I think this is going to be quite interesting, like reflecting back on the last, probably 2.5 years now. I've been at Totalmobile, but I guess more generally, I've always been in sales since I sort of graduated from university. I think as a lot of sales professionals do, ended up just like falling into it basically by accident. I won't bore you with the long story as to how I fell into it, but always been in sort of technology sales, and I'm really grateful that I did land in that area because it's such a brilliant place to work, brilliant sort of sector to work in. I think lots of great learnings and experiences and all the good things that come with a career in technology sales. So I started off on a sort of graduate program, which was brilliant. Anyone watching from that graduate program, shout out to them. And then was very fortunate then to get that grounding in that graduate program, stay on at that company for a while, and ended up after that. The kind of big breakthrough for me really was working for a company called BMC Software, who a lot of the listeners will know about. That's where it really sort of took off for me. Brilliant place to work, great leadership team, brilliant kind of commitment to sales excellence and structure, which really has become the foundation that I built the rest of my career on. And then, the opportunity at Totalmobile arose, and I thought, okay, here's an opportunity for me to take all the great learnings and development I've had. By the time I left BMC, I was running what was called the UK and Ireland enterprise team, a sort of second line leadership role. And I thought I can take that learnings now into a kind of smaller, I wouldn't describe Totalmobile as a startup, more of a sort of scale up environment. Obviously, Totalmobile has been around for over 30 years now, but very much in growth mode. So a private equity backed, heavily acquisitive, growing, dynamic business where I could run the sales team end to end was what was on offer, and it was very attractive. And the business itself seemed to be in an exciting place, which I'm sure we'll talk about throughout the discussion. And I thought, let's give it a go. Let's see how we can make an impact here.
So what are some of the key milestones and achievements that have occurred during this journey so far?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I know you asked me to write a blog as well, Gareth, which has gone out alongside this. So I talk about a lot of it in there, but it's been really interesting to look back on that. I think, the last 2.5 years, it was a really aggressive, really sort of disruptive plan that we had. And I say we because there's a few people that I've worked with before who have joined me on this journey. And Rees is the CRO, who obviously report directly into, has sort of been spearheading this with me as well. And then we've got others, Andrew Carlson, Tom Dodds, and various others in the leadership team who have come across. And we had this really ambitious plan, really aggressive, sort of exciting vision for where we could take not just the sales team, but I guess the whole company. One thing that's clear, I think, in a software business is sales is the heartbeat, really. We're heavily dependent on other departments, and without those other departments, we simply cannot operate. One of our mantras is that sales is a team sport. So whether it's the support team, the professional services teams, the customer success teams, the product development teams, we all need to be pulling in the same direction. But obviously, I was, along with my leadership team, really focused on that sales transformation as you described it. And I suppose the key milestones were, getting a robust plan in place and a strategy and a vision and a clear set of mission statements for how we were going to go about this, and getting the incumbent team at that time behind that mission. Clearly there were some changes in the team and we grew the team, so we had to recruit well. So you helped us with that and continue to do so, finding top talent out there in the market that want to come and join us on the journey. And then implementing all the new processes that we wanted to implement. So a new sales process and all those other good things, how we engage with other departments. So that sort of thing has helped us really deliver positive change, and we've broken records for biggest ever quarters, biggest ever years, biggest ever deals. There's been also we're quite proud of some of those achievements in the last sort of 2.5 years, and the individual stories that come with them, the individuals in the team who have transformed their careers, got promoted, made life-changing money, all the good stuff that can happen with a career in sales. We're able to help facilitate those outcomes for people that work for us, and there's loads of stories emerging every day where that's happened. So it's been really good.
So how would you describe our current sales execution process then, and what makes it world class?
Yeah, so I mentioned the sales process is one of the first things we had to implement. So if I look back on the timeline, so I joined in January. I remember very clearly, January 22, that is. In May 22, so a few months later, give people a bit of time to get better. We started drip feeding some of the things through, but we really did a kind of formal launch and training around the new sales process that we wanted the team to adopt. And that has become, I think, the key differentiator for us in terms of how we engage with customers, how we report on our progress, how we identify the right initiatives for what we need to do in order to further improve. It's a tried and trusted process. It's very similar, has a lot, has its grounding in some of the things that worked really well for me at places like BMC, and there's lots of companies out there adopting what I think is called colloquially now like the playbook. You'll hear a lot of people talking about the playbook, and I'd call us, if we're going to use that terminology, a playbook company. It's all about sales process and excellence in everything you do, using MEDIC, or I think MEDPIC, some people calling it these days. I'm old school, I say MEDIC, as a kind of qualification framework. All of those things, I would say, and I've written this in my blog actually, and I would say it, I'm quite biased, but I would say we have reached a really, really high maturity around those things. And that is not an easy thing to do. There are lots and lots of software companies, SaaS businesses out there who will talk about their sales process and talk about MEDIC and talk about excellence, all these things. I would argue, and again, from a biased position, I would admit, there are very, very few out there who have truly nailed it. I don't think you can ever really truly nail it, but we certainly, through the quality of what we've done and the quality of the people that we've recruited, because there's no point having a great process if the people aren't equipped to actually adopt and apply those processes. I think we've reached a really high level of maturity, and there won't be many companies, many SaaS businesses out there who are applying the playbook and MEDIC and things like that to the level that we are. I'm pretty confident around that. So when people enter that environment, they can feel that, I think, and they will get the benefit of it in terms of, the outputs of that are things like, you'll see larger deals, and that's something that we're measuring really closely. Our average deal size has gone up exponentially. You will see increased close rates, clearly, because you get your pipeline, you put it through a structured sales process, you're going to improve your outcomes. So our close rates are increasing as well. And just generally, you'll see people learning more. That's probably the most important thing. Working through the sales process, it transformed the way that people are working, the way you think about deals, the way you measure your activity, the way you think about how you're going to be successful. So I would like to think that people within our team will go through a similar journey that kind of I've been through, really, which is that this is a way of working now that will carry you through the rest of your career in sales. And that's kind of what we bring to the table as an employer, I guess. But for our customers, it's just a brilliant way for us to engage with them. Customers love engaging with us. We should be easy to buy from, even pleasurable to buy from. And that's what the sales process is all about. And it touches every single aspect of what we do. And internally, another big milestone, that's the last thing I'll say, is it's really good now to start to see other departments using the language from our sales process as well. So we will hand over, for example, a new logo win, and we're doing a lot of those at the moment. We'll hand over to obviously our project teams to do the initial implementation, and they'll be looking at the business case that was created during the sales process, and they'll be using all the same terminology and get used to receiving that information from us, knowing that that's what they need to implement against them. And then that gets handed over to customer success to measure and hold us accountable to. So that has been a huge aspect and enabler for our success, I think.
Brilliant. I know you're kind enough to spend a bit of time with the HR team and go through the sales
I did,
process.
yes. That was good. That was good.
Really good insight, even for me, when I'm talking to candidates and get them at least a bit of a snapshot of what occurs here at Totalmobile. So, brilliant. Okay, so looking to the future then, Ray, what are your long-term goals for the sales team here at Totalmobile?
Well, the long-term goals in the sales team are directly connected, I guess, to the long-term goals of the company. And, I mentioned it right at the beginning. One of the things that drew me to Totalmobile was the kind of dynamic pace and investment and growth that's happening at the moment. And that has been, I've lived and breathed that now every day for the last 2.5 years. And it's brilliant, right? To be in such a high-paced, I said almost startup environment where there's lots of investment, there's lots of focus, there's lots of growth and energy. So that is going to continue. There's no question around that. We've already dipped our toe in the water, shall we say, on our international journey. So for those who don't know, Totalmobile is a UK and Irish kind of centric company headquartered in Belfast. But we are a big part of our future, without a shadow of a doubt, is going to be internationalization. Again, we've already, as I said, dipped our toe in the water with that. We hired a regional sales director in Australia, Andrew Wiltshire. Next week, actually, he's going to be onboarding his first recruit to join him on that journey. We moved one of our pre-sales people out there as well. We see huge potential in that sort of Australia, New Zealand market, where we already have some customers, almost accidentally, to be honest. But now we're formalizing that and really going after that market properly. And then we've also recruited another regional sales director, this time in Stockholm, Christopher Waldorf, and there's been lots of announcements around that. He has built a brilliant business plan, is now in the process of executing that in the Nordics. So the future holds further investment, I think it's fair to say. Further in that investment, unlocking things like more internationalization, more acquisitions, probably further growth and opportunities for the sales team to sell more solutions, be part of a growing company, and be part of a successful team, essentially. And we're going to keep going. The business plan we've got has obviously been evolving over time, but ultimately it has the same foundations as it had when I first launched it back in 2022. We're still executing against the same 4 things: grow the pipeline, improve your conversion, increase average deal size, and prioritize people. Giving away a little bit of our secrets here, but those are the four pillars of our business plan. Everything we do is focused on those 4 things. We'll continue to do that and have a lot of fun. We've got a great team, great culture. It's been a really enjoyable period, and I think even more excitement to come in the future.
Good. And even from a recruitment front, I've learned quite a bit from you and the team, and how to identify, top players in our industry. And one of your key points is to constantly be recruiting. You always want to be having conversations with people in the industry, even if we don't have a live role. So with that in mind, what's the best way for people to reach out to you, Ray, and get in touch?
Yeah, well, I mean, the easiest way to answer that question is to say that I and all my leadership team, as you said, we're always talking about recruitment and we're always interested in talking to talented sales professionals at all levels, whether it's people who are starting out, people who've been established, people who are in leadership positions. If you want to talk to us, we will talk to you. Through the formal routes, obviously, even if there's not a role available, we have an option, I think, to do like a general application.
That's right.
And then that can come through, and we'll always have a conversation. But look, connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message. We are always willing, as I said, keep our network building of top to top talented salespeople. And that's always something that we encourage.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I would just reiterate that. And if you're listening to this podcast, feel free to reach out to me as well, connect. And as Ray says, we're always keen to have those initial chats. So thanks for your time, Ray.
Pleasure.
I do appreciate that. As I say, we've got more material coming out that kind of showcases our sales team here at Totalmobile. So keep an eye out for that. And we'll leave it there. Thanks, Ray.
Nice one. Thanks, Gareth. Cheers.